which we also do every Monday, is
Giant
underway. Hold on.
See, there it is. Audacity going away. Going. Well, all right.
Going bonkers? Crackers.
It's
Quackers. Going quackers. That's the answer.
happy 200th episode, guys. This is
Yeah, there it is.
This is such a milestone for the Audacity going away.
Oh boy.
Well.
Got to keep our voices down.
I got it.
To a
It's cool, babies.
To a
It's
moderate.
cool. We had to
So
make
if you're
sure it was
watching, though,
working.
this is our usual warm-up. So even as part of the live show,
Yes.
You're getting some behind
Do
the
you
scenes
see-
stuff here.
do you
This is-
see how good I am at stretching for time?
You are.
I'm
You're
a
very well
professional.
trained.
I was a producer of a television show
Yeah.
for over a year.
All right.
I know how to.
As a 23-year-old, who would let me do that?
And
to the da.
that's not these days. Would
You're
not
giving this
be
one to
able
dollar
happen.
folks too, eh?
Yes.
Everyone is
Patreon.
invited.
Well, they made this all happen.
Yes.
Yeah, we wouldn't still be doing this if it wasn't for patrons, I bet.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Laser Time's 200th episode. Yeah! In case you do not know, Laser Time is the internet's fourth leading pop culture show. I'm putting us there because it's our birthday.
Yeah.
That's
and
nice.
I am Chris. Who else do we have?
Henry Gilbert.
What the fuck? Oh, sorry.
What the fuck?
Brett.
Brett and Dave and
Dave,
sorry, I'm
good.
all off my game here. I'm a little hungover. So apologize for my hair looking like Neil Hamburger.
You look like you're about ready to wrestle.
Yeah, I have bedhead. I'm all
you do this,
hungover.
like, do you shoot?
So normally we choose a topic and we do a bunch of research and grab a bunch of sound effects, but it's our 200th episode. We want to do something a little special. The idea I wanted to do fell through because, like a old-timey Hollywood movie, required obtaining physical items from around the country, and I failed at it. Just more
national treasure, really?
someday we will do that shit. I cannot stand the way I look in this camera. I wish you were dead. I wish you were dead. But we're live streaming to our Patreon, patreon.com/lasertime. Lasertime is a primarily crowdfunded podcast venture, and one of our initiatives was to bring aboard Mr. Brett Elston, and that happened last week. So you were on the hook for at least 6 months.
And it came
okay.
at just the right time, man, for the 200th episode, which is a big deal because things we've done before never got to reach 200.
That's
this
true.
is the first thing we got to get to 200.
That is true. And we're allowing people to ask any question of us they want, and we also get to say whatever we want. So, guys, since the topic this week is fucking us, yes.
All right. Have you ever taken a train and eaten it piece by piece after you just derailed it with your penis? Yes.
Yes.
It was for charity.
Mr. Show,
one of the best.
Last night, like I went out to a bar, Folsom Foundry. Again, we've said it on the show. I cannot believe it exists.
It is the Ninja Turtles.
Yes,
Foot Clan
it is the
hangout.
Foot Clan headquarters, a giant empty hangar filled with video games and fun things. A hacked
And
Rock
a
Band
bar.
Xbox with not only every Rock Band song, but songs that don't exist on Rock Band.
I bet
Such
they're really
as-
fun to play.
Such as Last Night, which was all Nightmare Before Christmas featuring Korn and Marilyn Manson. Like, I could not stand it. Why are you
This
saying,
is
this is Halloween, this is Halloween. Just stop it. Stop it. I can't believe I'm still on camera. Henry, could you someone just remove that so I don't have to look at myself?
We can actually.
So I'm a little hungover, but then it's like, what song do you want to do? I'm like, well, what time is it? It's 11:30. I have to go home. Mr. Show is coming back for the first time in 18 years, and I'm watching the episode, and I feel so great. I'm fluttering around with my hands. Mr. Show is coming back on. That show is so formative and inspiring to me.
Oh, yeah.
It obviously it hit me at the right time in my life. I'm like 15 years old.
Yeah.
I think it is like not to get too hoity-toity about it, but I think it is kind of, for our generation, the American Monty Python.
Yes.
Because
I think so,
totally,
too.
yeah.
it hit us probably at the same way and age that Monty Python hit the Mr. Show creators. And from there, it inspired everything I followed, or most comedy I followed, because once Mr. Show was over, then I was like, well, I want to see David Cross's stand-up. Now he's on Arrested Development. I better watch that show. Oh, Jay Johnston is on this show. Paul F. Tompkins is a stand-up. I should watch him on DAG.
Tom Kenny is SpongeBob.
Tom Kenny is SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Scott Aukerman, who I only knew from like the commentaries. I got to know him through the commentaries on Mr. Show. He starts comedy.
He's Theo
Bang
in the
Bang.
Taint sketch.
Yeah, Theo Brixton.
Dino
Stamatopoulos.
Yeah, it's who does Rick and Morty, or his company produces Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, yeah, he's Starburns, but he also did
Jack
Moral
Black.
Law.
Sarah Silverman.
Sarah Silverman's on it. It's insane.
Marilyn Rice Cobb, everybody's favorite.
Jeff
Chloe.
Goldblum narrates a Civil War letter home.
Oh my god.
It's also great, yeah. And so to have it come back, it does make me, that episode, I've only seen the first episode, it made me feel old because they're writing sketches. Multiple sketches are about, I'm nearing 50 and I need to stop eating meat. I need Prilosec now, and God, that was such a great,
your
like,
body.
direct
Body.
mock. It was.
Eat like a baby.
It was all about the fucking Larry the Cable Guy. Like, it was a very direct Larry the Cable Guy Prilosec.
I didn't get that because he's on a fucking jet ski.
Yeah, and he's got his
Oh God!
He's always like, I know I eat 6 dozen hot wings every day. That's what Prilosec's for.
Dude,
It's like,
that is an excellent Larry. Did you know you could do that?
That's where I'm from, man.
Wow, I'm so proud of you.
did.
What we offer to do is take questions directly from the Patreon people. Again, no offense to anybody else, but like seriously, the Patreon people really came to the table this week. And I will say, not a lot of new people did. Most existing.
I feel like some of
patrons-
that's on me because VG Empire hasn't like on its own shows really mentioned the Patreon quite yet. So
we wanted to
we'll
separate
start,
church and state there.
Yeah, because for several months, like I wasn't. I over the years I was never like give me money for anything because VG Empire was very much separate. Like I'm doing this in my free time, but over the years it became such a positive source of entertainment and fulfillment of creative outlet.
And we found ourselves wanting to do more.
And I just reached a point in my last job, which was Capcom, and I was kind of like, I was talking. I feel like I want to do this now.
I was talking to a games journalologist last night, and he and like it's weird that like people you wouldn't think know about what we're doing do. And including some old coworkers that I saw there, and like they know what we're up to. It's strange.
Yeah, I think in general that's been a surprise.
And I had to tell him like we're not like let me just, like that's so awesome, man. I'm like here's how I can break this. No one is you are making twice what we are in your job. We are not making a lot of money. It's
true.
But and like when it comes to like, yeah, but you don't have to put up with all that bullshit. I'm like, no. We eat a different kind of shit.
Yeah, everybody does.
We eat a different kind of shit. Like, there's still shit to eat. Like, say, when I have to bike Trader Joe's bags filled with envelopes to the post office and have someone yell at me for stuffing in the wrong box. That's something we do now.
Or when Dave tells me yesterday that the people at his post office wouldn't take them and say that it's not the right amount of money, even though I called like 4 different experts to find out that was the right amount of money.
I chose the oldest, most backwards post office in San Francisco.
Yeah, there's like Amazon canceled our account this week. It took me 2 days to reinstate it and get that up. Thank you, Josh, for helping.
Or I post to VG Empire and it just doesn't show up anywhere. And
that's a luxury we don't have anymore. Of like, can somebody help me fix this?
Yeah,
no, they can't. You have to.
Yeah,
you have to do it.
It's still. Those are better problems to have.
And I said,
but there's still like
the problem we don't have is I don't have to sacrifice my relationship with readers, viewers, listeners at the whim of someone who makes 3 times as much as me, because that's where most of the just like not singling out anybody at Radar, but it was constantly the example of like, we're not making enough money. Like, everything I did really well.
Yeah.
There's not much I can do. Maybe this is your problem.
Yeah, I think speaking generally, like giant corporations they have all this overhead. That was always what we said to ourselves at GR, was that we're doing enough to make us money. Like, this would make us enough money. This wouldn't make enough for people with giant paychecks above us.
Yeah, people who make decisions and don't produce anything.
I do miss having the ability to blame everything on a person above me and say,
I'm still here for you,
You can
buddy.
still blame God.
I mean, I'll do that too, yes. Sure.
still blame your family.
But we did I meant to plug that we did a 15 greatest Mr. Show sketches thing on the site.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I re-exported some of these sketches in 1080p, 60 frames a second for shows shot on a camcorder in full screen. It made no sense. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
Well, they're the best looking ones up there, and if HBO's not going to claim them, then...
Didn't we read that HBO doesn't claim?
Well, it's a weird situation where they... it's just a contract negotiation thing, and it would cost them more money to
to figure it out, and they're not interested.
To stream it, they couldn't screw over Bob and David. They have to pay them more money, and they're like, forget it. It's all on YouTube anyway, so who cares?
Well, people are I should have gotten these questions in advance, but if it's not completely clear to people on camera, I just woke up. I'm hungover. I'm drinking coffee and had to wet down my bed head just to appear on camera, and it looks. I look
some of
awful.
the Patreon posts, but also don't forget the YouTube itself.
Yeah, the YouTube itself. I should acknowledge. Hi, everybody.
Also, Brett, what's this here?
It's Brett's birthday.
Yeah.
It was Brett's birthday.
It was yesterday.
We're the birthday.
It was almost Brett's birthday.
Since I screwed up by giving it to you before, let's recreate it.
Because Dave is a master showman, he surprised him with.
Speaking of your birthday, Brett,
Checking my phone here.
we all chipped in and got you this.
Oh my god! But I already have one.
Oh yeah, I gave it to you right before the episode.
Yes, no, I mentioned I wanted to play Rise of the Tomb Raider, but did not have a copy.
Yeah.
I had a nice little moment at Best Buy or at Target because they have buy two get one free. I was trying to buy it for you yesterday. That's why I ended up giving you a Dr. Mario amiibo instead of nothing.
I appreciate it
Because I was
He's sitting next to Rob right now.
I was like, I'm gonna buy Metal Gear Solid 5 and Yoshi's Woolly World, and I'll get a free Tomb Raider, and that'll be Brett's birthday present. And I go in there, Metal Gear's gone, no Yoshi with amiibo, and I'm like, shit, I could probably figure something out. Do you guys have any Tomb Raider? I'm like, we're out. I'm like, no, I saw one over there. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, and we go over and I'm like, look, there it is. And he's like, he lifts up the sale tag, and it's Xbox 360. He's like, this is just Xbox 360. And I go, ew! And he looks at me like, ew? Like, oh god, I'm sorry. Just, no, I don't want the Xbox 360 version.
No, that's okay.
I said ew out loud to Xbox 360. Ew, no. But we have a question. The first question I can see is from Mark Kasler, and it's a pretty good one. Even before you guys were self-employed, you seem to have a vast knowledge of video games, comic books, movies, TV, comedy, even wrestling. Just how do you have so much time for this stuff? Is there a certain niche that you've had to write off due to time constraints? Speaking for myself, I've had to write off ever catching up on superhero comics because there's just too much and no clear direction of what canon is the most important. So how do you guys do it? And one of the secrets, I'll tell you, I hate to say this, we're a little older than you.
Yeah.
We're a little older than almost all of you, and we've had an extra
decade of time.
Again, it doesn't really matter, but sometimes we've had an extra 5 years of reading.
Yeah,
and,
I chalk it up to the age definitely helps because we were teens and even and young adults to a degree before internet was really a thing.
Yes.
So yeah, when I was in college, yes, there was video on the internet, but it sucked, and there was no YouTube, no Wikipedia. You couldn't get lost, and there weren't as many distractions. We were born in a part of the old world where there was no internet.
Well, and there was also not as much information on everything, and so when you had one thing, like there's like one Mystery Science episode guide or Simpsons guide, and I just devoured it over and over again.
Yeah, then there's like one. You know, there's only so many comic shops.
You had all your Marvel trading cards.
Yeah, trading cards.
Marvel trading cards.
But because there's no, when I go home, it's like TV goes off the air. There's no internet. I live in the middle of nowhere, so there's no like neighbors I can go hang out with. And even we did, we're kids, so it's like I'm just going to read these backs of these trading cards 900 times until I know everything about the lizard.
Or I'll do every side quest in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and I'll just play the same games over and over again. So after 25 years of that, you're like, wow, I through grade school, junior high, high school, college, post-college, and then working at Radar in the future where games are your job, it's like, wow, I have consumed so much media.
And I don't know if there's a generational difference in people raised by the internet. I don't want to say anything like that, but like the internet, I remember when we started Radar, like this is a beautiful tool the world is not using. So geeky people like us who like to devour supplemental information to things we love, the internet was crazy. So I just got used to like I'll finish a book, a movie, a comic, a TV show, and I'll go on the internet and read everything I can about it. And I don't know, like just because I couldn't do that until I was about a teenager. That opportunity did not exist for me. I have to go to the fucking library and use the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah. even the internet though, like I didn't have broadband until 2004.
Yeah.
So like anything involving like actual research was like a 56K or less modem with plain text on a black background with no images, no trailers, no video. The craziest thing that I always relate to people who are like maybe 10 to 15, even 20 years younger, if there's anyone 20 years younger than us listening, please listen.
Oh yeah.
But the idea of like when that Donkey Kong Country VHS shipped in 1994 and you could see footage of the game being played, that was mind-blowing because you never saw footage of games before you turn them on yourself. There was nowhere to see that.
I think
and that was the case pretty much till like 96, 97 when like N64.com or like the guts of GameSpot would actually post like postage stamp Sega CD size things of Mario Kart 64 trailers, and you're like, this is impossible.
I remember it was a big deal for me when GameSpot, early GameSpot, like pre-2000 GameSpot, posted the history of video games, which is this long article.
Well,
just
back
about,
when you could have the balls to do something like that. Jesus
and
Christ.
I think something too that united us at GR was that we were, well, I guess not Dave, but that all of the core group of old GR, that we were, I think we all were the geekiest guys in our group of people, and then we all came together and we're like, it then became like a one-upsmanship of like, oh, I know this fact, like actually that was 1994, like actually,
but in a less pedantic, very pedantic, but in a fun way.
Yeah,
it was usually
fun.
like just
Thank you, Brandolph. Happy 200th. Adam Ishmael says, I'm 22 and I understand like 25% of the stuff you guys reference, but I still find you guys immensely enjoyable and have since the TDAR days.
Wow, thank you.
I'm trying to get as many questions as possible. Baka Dom 1 says, I have a question. So I've recently been recording podcasts about anime that are kind of okay, but not all that engaging. What advice would you have for someone trying to make better shows? And I don't know, it seems simple to me, but I have seen and heard a lot of shows of like, it's not just enough to want to talk into a microphone, but like, how do I best present that to somebody? It's something that college helps you out with in presenting content to people. Like, what's the quickest way I can get to the meat of it? This all sounds so hack and cliched, but what is your advice for that? Because before we start a show, we figure out a structure and what we're going to do. I'm surprised when I tune in, like, here's our podcast, and like, oh, you didn't do that at all. Like, we'll just wing it because we're hilarious and fun guys.
Yeah, well,
not you, Baka, but
on a certain level, we do want to do this podcast because we think we're fun to hang out with, and it's fun to open that up for listeners. But yeah, it is, the more you plan, the better it becomes. Like, that's how I felt with Cape Crisis, that Chris for a long time was telling me, like, take this more seriously, plan this out more, and now I feel like it is much more of like a clearly segmented thing.
And you got to find a happy medium, because it's like you need to
have fun too.
You need bullet points. I will not make a wrestling analogy. I'm trying real hard not to, but you need bullet points. But you should not be devoted to that. So like some of the early talk radars where I would like host randomly, I would be like, I would have this is what we're going to talk about, and I would be so concerned with the list and the talking points that I'm like, we're veering off topic. But it's like, you need to let the room breathe. Yes. And also, I don't know what the format of the show is, but if it's just one person or two people, you could try having that third. Because I think the triangle is what makes stuff dynamic.
In terms of shows that I plan, like, I don't plan that. I have bullet points. Everyone else is here to fill in for what I didn't do.
Yeah,
like you guys are like my backup to research on most laser times.
And I've fallen into the mistake of I've captured all these clips. The few times I've hosted a laser time, I've fallen into the thing of like, I have clips of all this stuff. We got to play all of them, and that's how you end up with a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, do you have any tips?
Darren Castro says Bullet Points Club.
Yeah, I mean, with Cheap Popcast, I like to get Chris on a lot. Grim to an extent too, where like they are not super into wrestling, but they're able to throw in like little jokes here and there, and that's what I try to do on Cape Crisis a lot. Yeah, I'm like, you guys are talking about a comic that I just have no knowledge of.
Occasionally as an audience surrogate.
Yeah.
So what are you talking? I have to occasionally say, what are you talking about? Please set this up.
Yeah.
I have no idea what shorthand
That's
you're
numerous
using.
Fiji empires when we're talking about Turbo Duo games.
That's an important thing I learned from
music's the universal language.
Scott Aukerman had this. He's a podcasting giant, and I heard him on this episode. He rarely talks about his process, but. He said that
you were going to say prostate.
The key word is context. Like he's like, you have to give context to the audience. Don't assume knowledge. Like every podcast is somebody's first episode.
Yeah, and I actually, I fucking hate that I only respond to negative comments because I love getting in mean arguments apparently. But I do read all of your comments, and when you say something that is good advice, I usually take that into account, and that's most of it. Like, I didn't know what you guys were talking about. And I like, fuck, and then I kick myself in the head for a week and try and make a better show. Wait, what? Here's another question from Mark Hasler that I wanted to read. Let me see if I can find it. Ah, shit, we are live. No, the people are commenting the article as we're going. So
what's another one while you find that one?
Well, this is one that I find kind of a bummer, but we're live, so I can show you. one of the signatures of Old Talk Radio was a ridiculous amount of sound effects. I'm certain they were annoying to some, but I found it endearing. No other podcast quite did sound effects like Talk Radio. So the question is, why are there less of them? Did Chris get bored of them, or as is my theory, is the laptop hard drive space at a premium with 7 podcasts on a weekly basis? All of that is kind of intuitive and correct.
Yeah.
The reality is we lost the podcast program,
station,
and the whole Talk Radio was based around, like, I bought this before we started it. It was $50, which is a big deal for someone making no money, and like the company didn't want a podcast and wouldn't pay for it.
We had to do it all after hours and all that. Like,
and with that program that went out of business, and I've even emailed and so the website went down. Like and they said you'll have 12 keys left for the rest of your life, and then that website went down.
Yep.
So I can't find it, and I use this program I don't like, a free trial of SoundPlant, and it is ridiculously hard to get sound. Like, it won't load any new sounds, so I have to like load clips via VLC player out of a folder. There's your Cape Crisis. Is that too loud?
Cape Crisis sounds.
it's always too loud.
It's always too loud. No, I did not get bored of them. And I think that was part of doing something better, because I listened to other video game podcasts. And
just talking.
And it's weird to think about it, how long we've been doing it. It was kind of hard to do a podcast. The only people doing video game podcasts were like companies who could afford to, so they just threw their editors on mic, and sometimes that was a recipe for super boring. And I listened to a bunch of those, and like, that's awful. Yeah. That is not the best you can do. Yeah. And
whereas today, people are groomed a lot better to be on camera, on mic.
Yeah, I mean, that's this thing, talk about feeling old, that when you apply it, when you would apply for a traditional job like the one I applied for 8 years ago at GR, you need like on-camera experience. Like, hey, are you on camera? Do you know how to stream? Do you know? Can you edit video?
Fun fact: it's the 13th. On the 15th, it will be my 10 years when I got hired at GR.
Wow!
And I moved to California.
But yeah, this is the sound program. If you guys, I think you can see it on camera right now. And
so, can I do Can I do my favorite thing?
Yes, Elston.
I think that's hilarious.
And so one of the clips you're hearing right now is Sitcom Laughter and Phil Hartman hosting a CSNBC show. It's putting a timestamp on the last time this let me load files. It's a free trial and won't let me put in anything.
Oh yeah, the talk show episode of wow.
Yeah, so I have.
It's just been one long unbroken cycle of...
Somebody throw the goddamn bomb!
That's Marge cursing. That is on there for some reason. Pete's Dragons. I hope this is not going to get kicked off YouTube.
Oh boy.
This is a Patreon theme. Careful.
Stop.
30 seconds.
So no, I did not get bored of them.
Got a little dick. It's pathetic.
I did not get bored of sound effects. I still think they're funny.
Wow, Bob Mackey.
Yeah.
I mean, our Simpsons episodes are full of sound clips.
They are, but they have to, like,
if anybody can figure out what happened to Podcast Station, that would be great.
They have to be loaded in separate little files like this, and I have a ton of sound effects, including a bunch of old. I'll see if I can dig up some Talk Radio ones. You guys should probably have a screen open, maybe taking questions.
Sorry.
And yes, anybody want to keep this flowing while I try and collect things?
I did want to say I was very excited that when we started finally doing a podcast at GR, because I was and am a podcast addict. Like, I have a lot of free time to listen to things, and I came to. I don't know. One of my favorite things to do is just to play a game that doesn't take too much brain power, like a turn-based strategy RPG, and then listen to podcasts or audiobooks while I'm playing them. And I can do that for like 6 hours straight, and that's like heaven to me. I don't know. It's just relaxing.
Obviously, a douche says we need sound effects of Spider-Man driving.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I was so excited for us to start getting into doing podcasts.
Yeah, because I think we started Tito when I hadn't really heard that many podcasts. I wasn't listening to podcasts regularly. So in terms of the sound effects, it was partially inspired by morning radio. Because those guys had, like, back when radio started and evolved, they had to make radio more interesting. Whereas podcasts, when I started listening to video game podcasts, they didn't have any such mandate. They didn't have any mandate to be interesting. I feel like I cursed the episode now. Everybody's looking at their phones.
No, I have one question here from Barry Scott Brenninger on the or Brenninger on the Patreon page. Question: you are all so prolific. I wonder if you keep strict schedules to keep up the output.
Yes.
Anybody ever sleep in ever? Do you take off every week? Do you take a day off every week?
Sometimes Fridays I don't have to do that much.
Yeah.
Every other day of the week I tend to almost work until until 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I wake up kind of. I think I'm the first one up among us. But even I'm like, I'm
probably last.
I don't know. I wake up at 8.
I wake up at 7, man.
Okay, wow.
7 is like 7:30 every day.
Jeez, well, here I am bragging about.
Well, no, my schedule got thrown because I do most of my work at night, and I get up at like 10 usually, and
I got a kitty cat wakes me up.
No, I wake
she's
up
stomping, wanting pellets.
Yeah, I wake up at 8, and then I usually my personal schedule. I wake up at 8, and I look at Twitter, either to, number one, because I'm a Twitter junkie, but 2, to look for news and stuff to see if I can do a news post on something for the day on the site. Then I'll work on my either a feature I was going to post today on Laser Time or my episode. Like Wednesday mornings are the busiest for me because I'm like, I need to read. I feel like I have to read 5 comic books right now, and also watch The Flash. And then get ready, and then get all the answers. Like, it's a lot of episode prep on Wednesdays for me.
Phil Lopez is asking, Cartoon Christmas has to be a new Patreon stretch goal, right? Absolutely not. But what that
kind of did everything.
It's
you
kind of
could
done,
with it, right?
Well, it wasn't.
Now
just
you got to make a
but
book.
it's interesting to note. I've always wanted to turn that into a book.
You should.
But
I know who you can talk to.
Cartoon Christmas, it's weird. It is the building blocks of what became Laser Time, because I was more curious, like, how do I make a website? Could I make my own website? All the hassles I'm dealing with here and things I don't like to do. And again, I took all of that for granted, the stuff that people were doing that I didn't have to do. I took all, and I could do this shit on my own, and I tried with Cartoon Christmas. So up until this week, Cartoon Christmas was the foundation for all Laser Time monetization. That was all set up for Cartoon Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's all gone away. And it sucks going back, and I had to fix something, and I went back and I trashed, I think, 200 comments. A lot from a user called Awesome HD Movies.
Dude, so many of that for VG Empire. Should NFL jerseys be allowed to comment on the
Google has informed me they won't put it in search engines anymore because it's so poorly mobile optimized. And but I'm not a designer. Yeah. Like Brian Graboids Ward and Josh from Sketchlayer.com. They're the guys who visually created the site. And my girlfriend Heidi. She helped out a lot with that too.
I have a good one from Keith Leva here in the comments. What is your favorite memory from working in the industry, and what is your favorite memory from your podcasts?
Fuck. So I got struck with something recently. Shit. No,
I mean, my favorite from the industry are usually interviews. Like, I guess the one that keeps coming back to me is I always wanted to interview Miyamoto. I technically got to ask him like 2 questions, but it was always my dream to do that. But I guess it probably was getting to interview like CM Punk. That was amazing. Like the most I loved wrestling, and same with getting to interview the Dragon Quest creators too. Like that was amazing, once in a lifetime opportunity. And then my favorite podcasting one, I mean, I did like coming out on episode 100 of Cape Crisis. That was fun. And
that's the third most important thing.
No, from podcasting, that's my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite memory.
Last night I was talking to one of my girlfriend's coworkers, and he starts talking to me about Walking Dead. Like, do you watch Walking Dead? I'm like, nah. I love the comic, and kind of my life was Walking Dead for like a year. Like, what are you talking about? Like I had to write a bunch of Hyundai copy and then shoot all this stuff with Robert Kirkman every 3 months.
Sunday.
And and he's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's kind of a special thing. Yeah, Talking Dead. Like I had to host on stage a thing with Chris Hardwick and Robert Kirkman. And like, what are you talking about? What is tell me more? Like, oh, I forgot. That's kind of a special thing I got to do, and took that for granted completely. Like I technically was on the first. I opened the first episode of Talking Dead live on a New York stage.
Wow! Yeah, when you think of it that way,
it was before the show premiered.
Yeah. So you're like the Brian Dunkelman of Talking Dead.
Whatever that means.
It's Brian Dunkelman. He's the co-host of American Idol.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a wrestling reference.
For the first season, and then he was gone.
Oh, God, I'm Dunkelman?
And what was your your favorite podcasting memory?
Shit, I know. I was thinking about it because I was at Charlie's house, and Charlie doesn't like to be on mic at all anymore. He doesn't really. It's weird. He's just trying to figure out what makes him happy. He has a new daughter.
He's been on a cheap podcast.
Yeah. No, I mean,
he was on One VG Empire.
He's a very private person.
But I was remembering you guys had 2 people had finished Red Dead Redemption and I hadn't, and we just ran out of the room. And we're in a fucking boardroom on the top floor of a building overlooking the fucking bay, and there's giant glass everywhere. And you guys are talking and like clearly won't stop. So I whipped out my balls and pressed them up against the glass to distract Charlie. And like, God damn it! I really did that in the fucking. I did that during business hours in a company boardroom. I pushed my balls up against. Some poor janitor had to wipe the smear from my ball sack off of.
Boy,
it's just
heat,
heat.
They're not even in the building anymore.
Well, what about you guys?
Well, I was also thinking because like I kind of some of that stuff has come old hat and you get immune to it. But I do remember my first. I was a big Grand Theft Auto fan, and like almost immediately when I started, like I got to go with Michael to preview Grand Theft Auto 4 in New York City, not at Rockstar's headquarters. It was all really weird. Like, oh, I love the radio. Oh shit, is that Rick Shapiro? Yeah, I love the Laszlo stuff. Oh, you love Laszlo, and they just bring out Laszlo and like, hey man, what's going on? Made fun of my Velcro wallet. But at the time, I was like practically a vegan, no meat, no leather. And whatever, but then I get back to San Francisco and there are billboards everywhere for Grand Theft Auto, and the thought of like, oh, I got to be a part of this thing before the world got to see it, before it like breaks the internet, whatever the version of that was for 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was surreal. Like I just remember that moment of getting back to San Francisco and there's like Grand Theft Auto billboards over our head, and like I've already done that. Yeah, that's insane. I gotta get some juice. Hold it down, people.
Let's see. Mine would be probably the first cover story I ever wrote back at GamePro, and it was for Super Smash Brothers Brawl, and we commissioned multiple covers. So like if you put them together, you would see the whole cast.
Oh wow!
So it was like, yeah. Not only do I finally get to like write the cover story of a magazine, it's a multiple cover. So I'm like, hey, look, I wrote an issue, and there's 2 different copies of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I guess favorite like Laser Time podcasting thing is getting to meet like Justin Roiland and Brett Weinbach.
Pretty great too. That was pretty great too. And also, insane. I'd also say I love the for a work memory, getting to go to Platinum Games for a cover story for your magazine at the time. Like that was going to Osaka to get to go to Platinum Games, meet the I got to meet Inaba. I didn't get to meet Kamiya, but that was pretty great.
Yeah.
Man, that whole thing of like forgetting that you've done things, it's true, because as of next week it'll have been 10 years. I'm like, oh wait, like randomly, like, you know, working at Capcom
for your favorite game company.
I worked there for 4 years, which is kind of like a huh.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a point where I was walking around in the Japan office, and like I was in an elevator, and I have a Minish Cap tattoo, and the guy in the elevator just points over and is like, "Oh, like I was a level designer," and I'm like, what? Like things like that were like little things about working at Capcom were like, oh yeah, I designed the it's like, what did you do? Oh, I designed the backgrounds for Street Fighter 2.
Bob Henson says your Patreon seems to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. How are you so popular?
I know the answer
a tough question, but a fair one.
I still have more things.
Yeah, keep going.
I barely even got into it. The other one that I am really like, it takes, I have to process it because I realize like how fortunate that was. Like, I got to work with the Protomen to debut a new song, like their first new song in like 2 or 3 years on the Mega Man 25th.
What song is? I know how it goes.
Built to Last.
Built to Last.
That was pretty great. Pretty great.
But
like there was a moment where like I was sitting in their tour bus at PAX like 3 years ago, and they're like, "Hey, here's the song. Do you want to hear it?" Yeah. And I'm sitting in their tour bus while they all look at me with headphones on, like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of on the spot here," but the fact that like meeting them was like, because for years at Talk Radar they were like this super cool band that's like, oh, I'll never meet them or talk to them, like they're super professional and talented and like listen to what they put out, like they should be world famous at this point.
Now you know they're musicians, they're poor as shit.
Yeah, and like getting to meet them and like hang out and get burritos and stuff, I'm like, everyone here is cool and has been nothing but awesome and helpful, and their music is fantastic. Their cover album, the cover up, really great.
So getting to whip it out,
and then same thing with OC Remix, like that for years was like this cool thing that I'm like, oh, I'll never meet these people. But then we did the MM25 OC Remix album, which is all great stuff, fully licensed, like weird things like this, working with game music, where I'm like, game music is like this. Obviously, the weird niche for me, but being able to actually do things and contribute back to that was really incredible.
Keith Levis says, "I wish Brett was my dad," and Dylan Freetag says, "I love to hear Brett talk about VGM."
It's I'm glad because I got a lot to say. And then for podcast stuff, like obvious things of like King of Names or anything where we were like losing our minds, like erotic fan fiction, or
which I had meant to like get one to do on this episode, so we could all do it live. And again, we were up. It was up late stealing Mr. Show videos and putting on YouTube and going to that bar. My mistake.
Dylan has an interesting question. Dylan, aka Batman Boy, asks,
Wow.
Do you ever find it odd that a seemingly large portion of your audience almost grew up with your podcast at this point?
That's really weird.
Yeah, that's when numerous folks have been like, "Oh, you're basically our Simpsons." We're like,
I forget to say that, but that was kind of mind blowing.
And I'm like, I can't even.
This is anecdotal evidence.
I cannot be I cannot allow that.
But yeah, this is anecdotal. But the who is Sam, who was just on our bonus time a few weeks ago. Like I just remember him as this kid or this teen who was one of our fans who liked Tim and Eric just as much as me. I was like, oh, Tim and Eric, that's cool. You're a cool guy. And then slowly but surely, like he's gone through college, is learning to like get into the comedy industry. Like I think in a few years he will be like an executive producer on a show.
I was like please go that route. I'll know you failed when you started a podcast.
Please remember. And now he's moved to LA. So yeah, that did make me feel old I don't want to, we shaped him, I guess, in the way that he loves wrestling, too, because we got him into it.
Corey Gray says, can we get a Talk and Talk Radar show and get uber meta? No, we cannot.
You did know Chris Hardwick.
Me? Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, no, I don't know him. But I have a picture. I have a picture with him somewhere. I forget where that is. Me and Robert Kirkman and Chris
Ray
Hardwick.
Stevens once.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Branson,
Missouri.
Oh, that's amazing.
Not related to this.
Aaron Chados.
They call him the street.
Aaron Chados is asking, what is the worst podcast you've ever done? A show you wish you could delete. And I remember about 2 years ago.
I'm certain there's Talk Radar things that I'd be embarrassed about.
Yeah, we used to cut a lot out of shows. Like I don't know if I ever played it. One time Shane just started yelling at me because.
Oh right, was that
we definitely did a lot of that.
You had to pick your console allegiance or something?
No. It wasn't that. It wasn't. It was a principal. He was yelling because. God, this is old video game talk. Remember, Konami was publishing a game called like 6 Days in Fallujah.
Yes,
while the Iraq War was going on, and I'm like, no, they should still publish. That's an interesting concept. And he's like, yeah, that's an interesting concept for someone who clearly doesn't know anybody in the fucking military who is in danger of dying. And it was a very I'm not mad at Shane for that. Like it was so serious. And remember, I came out as a vegetarian. I tried to keep politics out of everything we did on that show, and it's kind of do here, but it's kind of hard with Henry.
I can't say that.
I mean, if it comes up organically, fine.
Sure.
Do not plan on it. Do not plan it to monologue about your fucking stances. What is the word? There was that one. It was no offense. It was Dave's idea. Well, wait, because I didn't have that
was the topic of the episode. It was Dave.
I have a list of ideas, and if I go back to them, I feel like I failed because usually Dave or one of you guys will say something like, "I'm excited, let's do that," and you want to do that, and that makes it more exciting. So it was about talking animals, and then I just slowly looked up at the episode, and it's like. Who is Grim, Brett, and Dave are on nobody wants to talk about this.
Yeah, I think even I realized it's an interesting top. Sounds interesting, and then I'm like, I've never seen any of these.
Yeah,
really.
Nobody wants to talk about the Shaggy Dog, let alone the Shaggy DA, the sequel to that, or the Tim Allen remake. And
Shaggy Deadly Alliance.
There is a law show we did somewhat recently that's kind of weird. Yeah, we interviewed. Early in the year.
Oh, right. Yes, that is a lost episode.
We interviewed Matt Besser from Upright Citizens Brigade. Give some more of his credits. He's in Walk Hard.
He's in Walk Hard. He's been a guest star on not Gone Girl, the New Girl. He's been on Comedy Bang Bang, a lot of those episodes. His thing is that he's not all that. No, he was one of either Rodman or the douche from Parks and Rec.
Really?
Yeah. The guy who isn't Nick Kroll.
Okay. Crazy Ira.
Yeah, Crazy Ira. He's Crazy Ira on Parks and Rec. So if you guys remember earlier in the year, we had several episodes that
That is a live fart, everybody. You're seeing
no, it's your vape, man. It's too thick.
I'm covering up my fart. It is much worse.
So at the beginning of this year, we had several episodes with comedians on it because they were in town for the SF Sketchfest, which I also hope to do something with for the next
Little
year.
Donnie Scott Van Dusen.
He was also Little Donnie.
Little Donnie with his penis scoop on his
So we scheduled a bunch of them. They came here.
It's not Kugler. That is Mitch Hurwitz,
Mitch Hurwitz
creator of.
But to get Matt Besser, we had to come to him, which he was very nice about. He's like, come to my hotel room and you can interview me, and we can get like 30 minutes of him. So me, Chris, and Bob go there, and he was super nice. But
he was nice to do it, but like he was actually really grumpy and kind of awful.
It was the morning for him, and he was not happy. He actually got slightly defensive with a question you asked him.
Yeah, he did. Like,
it's like, what do you mean by that? Like,
well, I just like I love sketch comedy so much, and if I'm really have to justify it, it's probably because like I'm a little ADD and like it's not a whole episode of something. By the time something is not great, it's moved on to something that's hopefully better. So I've always loved sketch, and I thought sketch is the perfect format for the internet generation. Why the fuck would Comedy Central cancel you when you can put all these little isolated clips of the show and like watch this for more? And now that's what they do. There's it's just singular comedians hosting sketch shows. And well, also we failed to record.
We meant to record it with two microphones.
He only gave us 20 minutes, so we would have to like pack the rest of the episode with something else. It doesn't reflect well on him, and it doesn't reflect well on us because he was so not. I guess he's just that type of person who likes to disappear into character.
He's a grumpy dude,
and it was not. It was not an interesting conversation at all, and it was the fidelity was bad. No offense to him. Maybe we caught him at a bad time.
And I thank him very much for all the. If this ever gets back to him, which I doubt it will, but I thank him very much for his time. Like he was so accommodating. He took a picture with us. He let us go into his it was in his fucking hotel room. Like he was packing up to go to his show when we did it. And I'm hoping though that we can get. I was in his
hotel room and I could you just showered and I can smell it. This is so
Didn't
odd.
a similar thing happen?
Can I run my hand through your shower for a second?
Like with Colt Cabana, where right after all that happened, it was like, oh yeah, if you guys can get up to Sacramento, we'll record with you, and it's like we can't do that.
He can't get there, and he doesn't have a car. He can't get to us.
Yeah,
so he was so weird. It felt like being a teenager again.
Yeah, he was willing, but
at some point, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I brought that up recently. One of my most awkward moments. For PlayStation, the official magazine, I interviewed this star of Spartacus. Andy Whitfield, and I kept pronouncing his name wrong, and he kind of yelled at me. And he's dead. And he's dead. He was like a super nice celebrity who is dead that I got to interview.
I hope we can get more next year. Maybe we can get. I don't know. There's lots of people coming to town for Sketchfest. I'm hoping we can get some more. But I mean, did people even? You guys are here now. Did you guys like when we had the guests on? When we had on DC Pearson
in the chat, I would like to because
April Richardson was so great, and I have to have her back. I want. She is she loved wrestling when she's our age. She loved wrestling when we were kids too. She lived near Dusty Rhodes, and grew up with. Around Dustin and Cody.
Flipdoc says my Shirley Phelps Roper interview is still the best audio interview of all time.
Oh, that was great.
I have no idea how that got passed in.
That would never happen now.
Yeah, because of hypersensitive California, people were contacting me saying they were disappointed that I gave her a voice. I'm trying to make fun of her. Yeah. You can't make fun of her if you don't talk to her. Yeah. What is wrong with you, Californians? Jesus Christ! Extreme, and the only reason that did get to happen is because, remember, none of you guys knew who she was yet.
I knew.
Tyler knew who she was. Maybe you did. Nobody else did, except for our British bosses, because they'd seen fucking They think our religious fanaticism is crazy, and there's documentaries produced in England. She's She's like a boogeyman to them. Yes. And they were like, "You got her on the line to talk about video games?" They had to run it up the chain, across the ocean, and we have to try this. And of course, it did nothing.
Because I'm sure we had a proprietary video player that no one could use.
Grim is my hero. He's my hero too, obviously.
Grim is a fine man.
There were a couple questions saying what do we got to do to get Grim out of
Lockhart says he loved Richardson and Louis Peitzman.
I think that the point because a couple people have asked what would it take to bring Grim, what might it take to bring Michael? It's like when you get to 5 to 6 people, you're talking about a for real company. Not that this isn't, because it technically is now.
There's a business certificate,
a business license. So, but it's like when you with that, it's like we practically need an HR person at that point.
It gets too big, and it also is
like it's not a feasible Patreon amount. I think you're getting into like tens of thousands.
And Michael's a homeowner, and he's got a gig at the Ubisoft he's enjoying. Like, and
not that I would not absolutely love that outcome. But it's asking so much of everyone.
We gotta keep growing a bit more before we can do that.
Because we would like to grow it on our own as well with the support of you guys.
I think that's kind of impossible.
And I mean, I definitely was thinking
it is not a good time for content creators and crowdfunding. I mean, that's
the best.
My favorite show, Mystery Science Theater 3000, can't exist because the world won't allow it without people paying directly up front.
Well, because the people with the big money don't want to pay as much, or I don't know. That's like
I would love this. I would love for things to kind of collapse, and it's like the only way anything exists is if you pay for it.
Is it? Well,
it's like, I don't want a cable channel. I don't want that anymore. I haven't for 6 years.
But that's where things also get weird, because then, like, the only reason we have this luxury is because we had a popular platform on which to promote ourselves.
We wouldn't have gotten famous first, and that's why I think it's a good thing to work for the man for a little bit, because you need to. They're using you because they're a corporation and they use people, but you need to use them back to be like, well, I'm a person and you don't own me, but I can become famous through your loud bullhorn.
But when people talk about an all crowdfunding world, like I don't know how risks get taken without financial backers, because people just won't see you, unless you do something truly remarkable or have a funny cat video up front. And maybe people will see you.
But then. you gotta launch from that. Like Grumpy Cat had a funny video, and then they knew how to monetize Grumpy Cat and do like a Grumpy Cat Christmas. Like they kept it rolling.
Put Grumpy Cat on Raw.
Exactly.
Token Laser Time Furry is asking Chris if you remember what was going through your head minutes prior to starting Talk Radar episode 1 compared to Laser Time episode 1. If I had to be honest, alcohol's meant to get those thoughts out of my head. I'm actually
also technically going through your head down into your body.
Yes, but surprisingly confident for both, because we talked. Elston and I think we were talking. Shane and I were talking about how to do a podcast, and I just remember I want Who Framed Roger Rabbit clips. I want to play Who Framed Roger Rabbit clips live on the air and a little Mario sound.
And for me, I was just like, the top 7 every week should have a podcast, and that's all we do. We just run through the top 7, and then there's an audio component, and then you guys were like, well, that's gonna get boring. So what if we tag fun stuff onto that, and then that's kind of how Talk Radar started.
And so we talked about it for. Jesus, like maybe an entire 24, like throughout a couple weeks, a 24-hour period. So I was pretty confident. And then Laser Time.
Well, also Dan Amrich was there to help.
Yes.
Like he was
been doing KOXM for a while.
Experienced hand with podcasting in the group.
So weird because he Skyped in, but he was in the fucking building.
Yeah, well, we all Skyped.
Him. Yeah, that's right.
We all Skyped,
but he wasn't in the room with us.
Yeah, that was.
He was not in the room with us.
It's Skyping from like 2 doors down.
I've heard clips of those old
They're
shows,
awful.
and like I cannot believe anybody listened to that. The audio fidelity is so bad.
Well, that's why that's also why you had background music in those shows to like just cover the.
So
audio.
People have asked like, "Why? How did you prepare? You're good." I'm like, dude, I don't feel like I was good at all. Like those shows were kind of bad. I was a nobody. I got lucky. Like I'm not saying for anybody else. I got lucky because I was just in the right place, and we did a podcast at a site.
Well, I think there's something to be said.
The
fact we're all sitting here today is like we got lucky in that we all worked at the same place at the same time. Because if we tried to do that show plus or minus X years, it's like it wouldn't be the same thing, and I don't think it would have hit it off the same way.
Banana Beal says Dan Amrich was the elder in the start of your hero's journey.
He was
Dan
Elrod.
But how do we get more content in the top 7, Brett?
Dan was a big part of me getting hired in the first place. Like I interviewed with him and Eric.
There is so many good stories about Dan Amrich being the guy that always returned your emails and would give advice.
In 2003, I
don't do that all the time.
In 2003, I emailed and cold called a ton of people. He's the only person who responded.
That's one of my most touching memories from listening to a Laser Time was I think it was the Brett going away Laser Time. Talk Radar. Where he was telling the story that when he interviewed Carolyn. That he said, "I met your future wife today," and that was like really touching.
Flipdoc,
and it's true. It's true.
That is. I shouldn't gloss over that moment. That's pretty interesting. Flipdoc is asking, having done hundreds of podcasts now, do you get nervous at the reception when you put out an LT every time?
Yeah.
Do I not get up and say, "Holy shit, was that any good"?
Yeah, pretty much every time.
I do it.
I kind of need a mental disconnect of like that. We're talking into these microphones and people are listening, but I can't. If I thought about thousands of people, like literally thousands of people hearing the things I'm saying and remembering it and possibly playing it, decades from now.
I don't think about it like
that's
that.
too much for me. But so I have to be like, I'm talking to this. It goes into the void.
Would people like it? And it's advice I remember reading from one Bob Odenkirk. He's like, I get stressed out and people complain because I'm really hard on myself. And all of you should be harder on yourself because there's a lot of shit that sucks. And that guy, I love that Bob Odenkirk is famous now for being an actor. And then Wired had that article. This man created humor on the internet as you know it by writing SNL, Ben Stiller Show, Mr. Show, producing Tim and Eric. He found them and made, Bob Odenkirk. I like the idea that he's people's hero now. He deserves it.
No, he said that. Yeah. So it is weird to meet. So when I met people who know all these facts about my life just because I said them on a podcast to be interesting like that, it is a weird feeling.
Jason Miller says, Dan Amrich wrote me a handwritten note for a contest I entered on One of Swords. It was the greatest thing. So I put it in a frame and placed it on a wall on my desk.
Wow.
Dan Amrich's the best.
Dan Amrich is so awesome, and he still is. We need to have him back. That's one of my favorites. That he
already had him on episode 200.
He's a patron.
Dan, it is fun. When I was sending out all the stuff, I got to know the names of every $5 and up patron. And it's oh wow, that person did. I know that.
Brett, having not seen that, you would be absolutely shocked by how many former coworkers are patrons.
Yeah, I haven't. I still don't have a login, so
it's weird.
I got to see my dad's Patreon envelope.
We put a poster in an envelope for Dave's dad.
Can't wait to see it. On his wall when I go home.
Oh boy.
You better be up there.
Bad Beatles covers part 2. I hope so.com.
Yeah, he said he had enough for another part. And
for VG Empire, the only thing I ever get antsy about is there's kind of this back and forth about playing music over while we talk. That
was originally done to cover up the low fidelity of the Skype shows, recording.
Back then. But now, when I do a show about game music, part of the reason, I'll play half the loop underneath us talking and then fade up when the second loop begins, or I'll whatever. But it's I do that for a few reasons. One is it's editorialization because I'm literally just playing music that I don't own. So there you need to do something with it. You can't just here's the song, play the song. I can't put every song on earth in there either because there's a thing called bandwidth that we have to pay for now.
Yeah, the bandwidth is one of the most expensive parts of this job.
Yeah.
It's
when it's
almost $200 a month.
When it's why didn't you play 10 more songs? It's because the show needs to be about an hour plus or minus a few minutes. But when you get if I go over and do an hour and a half show 2 or 3 times, it's that starts adding up.
Yeah. And another thing I didn't know.
Sometimes it's just to shrink the episode. The Spyro episode, if I played all those songs 3.5 minutes long because it's just him banging on ride cymbals and going nuts. It's a really long song. That should have been an hour and a half.
We would just ask that question from Mark Griffin. Can we get talk about the editing mixing process? I've heard you talk about Audacity before, but do you have any post processing? Yes, we do. We use compressor and equalization tech, but I don't know if the GoPro is picking up on camera, we have a mixer. So normally when someone's a little too hot, a little too cold, we test levels. So we get everybody sounding correctly.
You can raise or lower gain.
And then I have, because again, my soundboard doesn't work. This is how we play the sound effects in Talking Simpsons. Right here on my Audacity board. And you can raise and lower each individual channel. And yeah, this is the news jingle. You're seeing Audacity work live. Interesting. Interesting to somebody. Yeah, I cue those sounds via Audacity.
Via Audacity.
Just those 3.
Batman Boy also had another good question, which was, how did Dave get involved since he's been such a staple, but didn't come from Games Radar?
I remember.
Yeah, I worked across the hall at OXM, and I'm forgetting. Oh, it was you guys were doing an interview for some UFC with some UFC
Frank
guy.
Shamrock? Was it Frank Shamrock?
No, I don't know if there was actual UFC.
Oh no, wait, it was UFC producers on THQ's last UFC game.
Yeah, and I knew about UFC, so
and
you guys
you knew that somehow. Maybe
I used to pay attention.
And
to
then
UFC.
I'm on there. I'm like, holy shit, Dave's really good at this.
Yeah. And that was around the time that Ryan McCaffrey left OXM, and I took the reins of KOXM. I'd done a little bit of podcasting at GamePro, but I was I don't want to let this die. It's a good tradition, and I don't know, some of the listeners let me know otherwise. But I knew I can't take this on alone. It Ryan did this for 290 something episodes. I can't just I'm the new guy. Hi. I was I need somebody who's really good at podcasting. So I asked Chris to do it, and he helped for a while and kind of helped me get my sea legs. And then from there, like I think that was around the time I also kept pitching like we got to do a wrestling laser time. We got to do wrestling laser time.
Also behind the scenes, I was banned from doing anything at Games Radar. Somebody had told Henry to not talk to me because it would hurt his career.
That's true-ish.
Well, that's what you said. You wouldn't talk to me in the office.
I neither confirm nor deny that.
And I'm only bringing it up because I'm not bitter about it. It's just like that was insane.
It was a weird time.
I'm not crazy. Like I didn't do anything that wrong. It was just like let's scorch the earth of what came before as I build this thing in my vision.
That was an odd time.
That was an odd time. Fine. Nobody wants any uncomfortable questions.
No,
Because Jack Dowley is asking, across the massive amount of podcasts you put out. Oh, wait, no, that's not the one. Across the massive amount of podcasts you put out, which ones are you most proud of? It's usually the underrated ones, Monster Parties.
Yeah,
like
Monster Party was really
I
good.
loved erotic fan fiction. Again, we meant to do that today. I love that.
I really like things that are like the is it a Transformer, a water slide, or a
Transformer, Ninja Turtle, or He-Man.
Yeah, or water slide.
I am proud of that one, but that was
Gatorade or water slide, like things like
Star
that.
Trek or X-Men.
Yeah,
like
I think those are so fun.
Those are fun. They are
again preparation.
They are a pain in the ass to make, and like we had absolutely no fun making last year's Christmas episode, I think, but I love Christmas episodes quite a lot when we worked on them. Like,
those are always fun.
Them, acting them out, our terrible acting ability. I think one of my warmest memories was when we did Brunswick Bowling.
Man.
That episode.
That was such a time capsule.
All of us together in that room, like it was all of us.
The first one was like it was like an actual radio production. We had a boom mic for people to step up.
Eric Thatcher did such an amazing job as the ghost of Bob Marley. Like
all those those were fun.
That was so beautiful.
Aaron Chados is asking, is there ever going to be a topic too taboo or controversial for you guys even to discuss?
I mean, we did murderers, like we did famous people who killed people.
I have an idea that I had pitched you guys a while ago that I know makes you guys all uncomfortable. But saying
goodbye to the F word, the other F word.
Yeah, I want to. I will not lie about it. I want to collect sound clips of famous people saying the word faggot. I do.
Yes,
I do because like I don't. The word's always really jarring to hear now when it's coming from someone who's supposed to be playing a likable character.
Yeah.
And like just that. Yeah, I got a clip of Walter Matthau saying it.
It's weird to grow up. That's another thing about like our ages and reflecting on our. It's a weird part of nostalgia, but to say when in the 80s and 90s, like it wasn't like everybody loved saying it, but it was acceptable. The main character of a movie can say it, and
I've heard older comedians and podcasts of it, like it had no sexual connotation where we grew up. I didn't even know it was connected to a sexuality until I was a teenager.
Yeah, Chuck Klosterman said he couldn't imagine a world as a kid. This writer, I love Chuck Klosterman. He said as a kid he couldn't imagine a world where anybody other than a homosexual would be hurt by the word faggot, and so it's okay to say it to each other when you're not gay.
Yeah,
I forgot how many wrestling signs had.
Oh my God! Yeah,
with the commentary we did recently. Holy shit! Yeah. Bret Hart is a.
All of it. No, HBK is a. It said HBK is a fag. Just holding it up
in the front row,
and it's Canadians no less. They're the nicest people in the world. But,
French Canadians.
Yeah,
I am proud of the episode you'll hear next week because I'm letting you. We already recorded it. You guys have heard it already, but it's something of
this one.
No, the one we recorded like earlier.
I've
wanted to do that for a while, and I don't. Again, I'm always worried. Like when you sit on an idea for too long and you finally do it, like I didn't do it justice.
Yeah, when you have an idea in the back of your head for so long and then you finally do it. And
so that's why like Dave brings something up 2 days beforehand. I'm like, I'm excited about that. I don't have to overthink about it. I'll just make it. I'll produce it. Jack was asking about. Who was that? But there was the biggest edit we ever did on Laser Time. Shit, I don't know if I'm blowing up your spot here, Elston.
What, a thing that was cut? Or?
Yeah, but it was. It probably hurts a little less now. You going back home in the middle of the Ferguson riots?
Huh?
Yeah,
not in the middle of it, but like after the Ferguson riots that year, you went home.
You went home and like. It was just like this somber, like, oh, man, this is really weird, and we cut that whole segment out, because we got in a very uncomfortable political discussion, not an argument, but like a discussion on like guns and
inequality. It was just too much.
It wasn't fun audio, I'm guessing.
That's the most we ever cut out of something. Does it hurt less now?
I mean, not if I heard it again. Because I mean,
going home.
Oh no, not at all.
I mean, because that had to be a weird fucking thing. Like,
I mean, it was on everybody's It was the topic.
Yeah, that was the weird
not
thing.
A cool thing.
You said it's because while it's a news story over here, it's something everybody's talking about in that region of the country and picking a side.
It was nope.
What are those microphones you're using? Equipment?
They're Behringer.
Well, I reckon this is
XLRs.
This is an XLR, Mac.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I could be Mater.
That was Miller time.
I am fucking astounded. We have not needed to buy.
Yeah,
the day will come when all this needs to be rebought.
These fall over hilariously, and
these rubber bands are
fucking $17 a piece. Yeah. Stupid metallic rubber bands that just wear out within like 6 months.
That mixer is 5 years old.
Marco asked, "Who was your favorite guest on TDAR?" I think the best guest, like the best person to be on, was Seth Killian. Like he is. If he wasn't so awesome at everything else, an important dude, like he is such a font of information, so much information in his head. Like he's a perfect podcast guest of just like, I know this, like the shit he knew about Turtle, like destroying that Parappa song forever. The song Turtle by Can. He's like, I can't listen to Parappa because they stole the song.
And I will say, like my favorite guest on the show, because looking back, I cannot believe we made her do it. Veronica Belmont.
Yes,
multiple times sat down with us for 3 fucking hours. That poor woman. And like she is so talented and so famous and so fucking nice, and she was really good on. She's excellent on the show. Of course. Mixed in with all that, like I cannot believe we did that to her. And everybody's like, have her come on.
She even had pizza with us downstairs.
Yeah,
like she even had the pizza.
And have her on Laser Time. Like I just want to make sure I never put her through anything like that again.
This will only be an hour.
Yeah, hopefully. Even though we're over an hour now.
String roses along to the seat. And
well, we can go a little while longer. Guys, if you have any questions, I'm sorry we didn't get to that many. But actually, Butterworth is back in town. And
he is.
Come on.
We should have him
I just got a message from him.
All right, lightning round.
Oh, I
Stuff
forgot
about Seth reminded me, like, one of my favorite, weird, underrated memories in the industry is, like, I just met Seth, and like we were starting to become friends, and just like him making fun of me at PAX for having a legal pad for taking notes on. He's like, "Could you get something bigger than that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I deserve it." It was like literally like I went to a CVS right before I got to the show floor. And
a little plug for Rising Thunder, super cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what state that is in, but you probably play it for free right now.
I forgot who asked. I'm having problems finding the question, but somebody asked, "What's Paul Ryan up to?" And I actually saw him 2 weeks ago. He's like here, and I know he's a listener too, and he's around. Like we go to the same YMCA in Berkeley, but whenever I see him, I'm like, dude, you should be on. He's like, they don't want to hear from me. Like, they don't want to hear.
What about the paranormal episode with Matt Keys? We're coming. It says Ryan Landretti. We're coming up on 1 year since I said yes, let's do that, Matt, and I have not gotten back to him.
Matt is a father of 2 and works a full-time job, so I understand why he doesn't.
Baka's Dom and Flip Doc are asking a date for 30-20-10. I'll be honest, we have not talked about that. We need some little settling in time. I would guess 2016 is a good time.
Yeah, we 2016.
We had talked about like, I mean, everybody comes back in January, like that's a perfect time to start.
Yeah, because I have to leave town very soon for a funeral.
It'll be very difficult to get done in the next
Christmas.
And in the holidays, even if I don't go anywhere for the Christmas, because I might not, because the only person back in Florida now is my brother and my dad, neither of who like Christmas all that much. So
wow, everybody's saying more Paul Ryan, more Keast.
See, everybody, look, I'll DM Paul again and tell him like the people want you, Paul. They want you. If you're listening to this, Paul, come on, come back. Everybody loves Paul, though he doesn't really sound like that anymore.
We need more ladies on the show. LT Goodmanson always rocks. I agree.
Yeah,
I do have an idea. I want to work out with Cheryl, who might be listening right now.
She's a badass too. Like she knows everything. I mean, and Carolyn's the best.
Lots of love.
Yeah. I want to do more fuck, marry, kill with wrestlers, which I can only do with Carolyn around.
Oh, that was so fun. Yeah,
that was
What's
so great.
Eric Bradshaw up to? Says Connor Wade. Did we see? He just wrote the Mission Impossible mobile game?
Yeah, he wrote some in-game story or text for some mobile games, I think. Yeah.
He's just been freelancing a lot of stuff, and I think he's been doing like a Christian rock band on the side too.
Really?
If his Facebook images are anything to go by,
Need to catch
he's
up
grown
on
his
that.
hair out too, which I'm also doing. So we'll see how long I stick with this.
Yes, Jacob Wilson. Is it surreal to have an audio record of your lives since GR? It is.
It's a little weird.
It is
because
surreal.
people randomly like PAX or Comic-Con will mention something, and I'm just like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, right. We talked about it for weeks.
The positive thing about that is that like the more I'm working and in here and recording, the less interesting life I'm leading, and I have to make it a point, since I'm on mic so much. Whenever my I think if I'm looking at like typical sitcom scenario, hey honey, you want to go to the botanical gardens? Like so on the weekend, like yes, I need material.
Maybe I'll see animal poop.
Yeah. Yes, whatever my girlfriend suggests, I'll do any wacky weird thing, like at all with my free time.
I think with bonus time, I tend to like anything that happens in my daily life. I'm like, I should probably save this. It's like on the bus ride over here, some guy, like these two guys were sitting across from each other. I don't even know if this is a good anecdote, but this one guy was like, hey, aren't you that billionaire? Like that billionaire that I saw on the news? And he's like, well, no, he's sitting on the bus with a duffel bag. So unless he's like some sort of secret billionaire, no.
Coming this fall to CBS.
But then he pulled out some moisturizer and moisturized his hands. I'm like, you did not look like a guy who moisturized. So maybe you are a billionaire. So it's just a weird, I don't know.
Again, everybody's being really kind in the comments. I can't thank you guys enough for participating in this like just ridiculous narcissistic episode of pure backpattery. But we wanted to we had to do something different for our 200th episode because we've never. It's probably more than the 200th episode anyway if you include specials.
Sure. Well, that's the same deal with like with Talk Radar. If you counted E3 episodes and Christmas specials, like we got to like 230 or something, but we never got to have a real 200 or even a 199th. And that was.
I still love Talk Radar 198. I think that is one of the most fun.
That is one of the funnest. But
you making fun of Michael's dad with the wrong accent, like it's just an accent that's not attributable at all.
It's a beautiful episode, and the last word
it's a fucking Adam Sandler character as Michael's dad.
The last word is "Go laser time where community lives."
The last words are Chris sneaking in the words "laser time" and then the music. Like that's it on 198. Like it's
Circle Jerk Cast is boxing market. Yeah, phone calls were great. I like behind the scenes. Yes, I am dying to do a call-in show.
Phone calls.
Because inside baseball, I wouldn't have to prepare anything. You would. And
that is an important difference. Yeah. Man.
And I love it because like a long time ago, someday I keep threatening to post it. And Tyler and I, we posted something in the Laser Time forums. Ask us anything. We just answered questions about anything, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had on mic. But it was like a new pilot. Someday maybe you'll hear it.
Tom and Chris in the comments.
Dana Castro is pointing out an entire episode of Chris imitating everyone else's parents. I did not realize how much I do that.
You do that a lot. That's one of your go-to.
My dad?
Well, he's been on it now, so it's easy to do. But both Tom and Chris Cummins asked in here that would we think of doing a cross-promotional stuff with either like Jim Sterling or the Kind of Funny guys? That's something we honestly should be looking into.
Yeah, I saw Miller last night.
No, Miller's a cool dude.
I think I would do it. I was on one a couple of months ago for
Kind of Funny
for a Mega Man Susie stream.
Yeah,
and Jim Sterling. Kind of Funny is right here, unlike Jim Sterling.
I do feel like I've dropped the ball by not trying to do that, but like it's also in the back of my mind, like those guys don't need us. We need them, and why would they?
Well,
why would they upset their dynamic?
Yeah. Then again, when I thought about like for the longest time, I wanted to have Danielle Riendeau on, but I was like, she's too busy. She wouldn't want to do this. And she was the best. Like here's a secret. When she was on Cape Crisis the last time before she moved, and I'm so sad she moved. Me and Chris and Dave, like we talked with her for like 2 more hours, just like. And that was, I just love that. I was like, God, she's the greatest, and I miss you, Danielle. Hope you enjoy New York, man. And same with Phil Kohler. I loved having him on. He's a hard man to get.
Well, I want to get Daniel Reichert back on.
Oh my God, the internet loves him.
He's doing like he's a wrestling manager now, so like now it's even more of a reason to get him back on. So
what?
Dirty Dan, All Pro Wrestling in I think it's like South
San Jose. I think
No idea. Max Scoville, please. Him, I don't know. I don't.
Plays a tech startup asshole.
Yeah, he recorded his entire promo on Google Glass.
Oh yeah, that's right. He just streamed it all. What are the former Talk Radar people up to? I think we mentioned that kind of. I mean, Cheryl, like a lot of them are just like startups or game development places in the city. Carolyn's married to Brett. That's her job.
The sad reality is like when everybody left that place, everybody went and did something. Seems more successful having left.
I mean, everybody definitely went off to make way more money.
Yeah,
it was almost impossible not to.
Well, Lizzie has her own podcast.
She does. Don't read the comments. I don't know what the status of that is because they stopped recording here, so I couldn't hear it. I like hearing it live.
I know they did one recently about Fallout.
Did they? Yeah, I'm sure they're huge fans of Fallout.
Yeah, they need to come back by here again. I think just an episode of Talk Radar, or sorry, Laser Time that's just you with the three of them. Like,
that might be fun. Yeah. Maybe I'll bother them to do that. I think they kind of hated recording here, but it's not a very lady-friendly house.
All this?
Yeah. This, like, again, swept like a week ago, and this is what it looks like.
I mean, the floors.
Somebody also asked, is that an electric oven or a gas oven?
Yes. I'm gonna guess a gas oven because I don't use it very often.
Yeah, it's gas.
All right.
How come it didn't work when you put your head in there?
That seems that seems like a good question to close out on.
This is not a set. This is a functioning kitchen. Wouldn't that be great if this was a giant like fake out and this was a set the whole time?
Oh, like they just pull the walls up like a fucking Simpsons couch gag.
We're all in some kids.
We need a Tyler Walken cameo. I think he's really at work, Dylan. I'm sorry. Where's Duke Lombardi? Jesus.
Duke Lombardi.
He died of a heart attack.
I don't know. Michael used to write stuff for him.
I remember the car ride home though. After a Talk Radar, we were just like, "What if a ham could sweat?"
Yeah.
And like a ham was.
No, that was a poor impression of fucking Doug Lombardi.
Doug Lombardi, and but it like the drive to pizza where we're all dying in the car. Like this has to be a character someday. And like. If a ham was
said that about a lot of things. Did old Seinfeld ever make the air? That was like 2 full days of like being the Seinfeld of the year 3000 and
yeah, he was like older.
Why do I have to insert nanomachines into my bloodstream just to cure my cancer? Like this. Well, I'm so glad that never made the air.
We were like trying to park. I remember like Tyler trying to find a parking space and just like, what's the
yes.
And it went.
What's the deal with drones?
Now that's a bunch of Twitter parody accounts.
Yes. Yeah. We missed the ship on that.
Well, without the voice, it's not as funny.
Exactly. Guys, we do have to close this down. We are doing Google Hangouts for our Patreon members.
We still got that ahead of us.
We got Patreon again. Sorry, patreon.com/lasertime. We still have a couple initiatives there. We want Brett to do, including Beat My Score, VGM Minis. We could really use your help with that.
Stream.
Again, at a low cost of $5, you get access to exclusive podcast, weekly commentaries. First season of Talking Simpsons, 13 episodes
More
right
stuff
there
than
for
you can realistically.
I think we're really making it worth it for you guys. Yeah, come on.
No, I'm really proud.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody.
No, like when I came on, like the number of like personal messages and things was really like I don't know, pretty humbling that people have that much faith and stock in it. Like.
Happy birthday,
Make
Landon.
me laugh. So I'm like,
oh yeah, happy birthday, Landon. I said that to you on Facebook too.
Yes, happy birthday.
Oh wait, I got you something, Landon.
Do you need a copy?
No, well that's it, guys, and you got to close out the stream. But yes, that concludes episode 200. Glad so many of you joined us.
This was fun.
Oh God, my face is awful.
Bye.